Hi, my name's Alisha Salcedo. Welcome to my multimedia discussion for week 2 for articles selected. During this presentation, we'll be reviewing these 4 articles that I found interesting within chapters 1 to 3. In collaborative approaches, chapter 1, page 1, they use a definition from Week's book, Conflict Resolution, just to explain what is conflict and just explaining that it's bound to happen in our everyday interactions and it's unstoppable. As reading chapter 1 and the preface from the conflict resolution books, I got an understanding of how Weeks was able to term the coin conflict, and he was explaining how through his experience, through his childhood, that there was just so many things, racism, sexism, ageism, conflict within business and communities, that this is just something that he learned that it's bound to happen. And just after reading the conflict resolution chapter 1 and the explanation from within the book, the collaborative approaches, I was able to see that Weeks was just trying to get to the point that conflict is a negative term and that we need to learn how to turn this into a positive, how to come up with these conflicts and different issues, how can we make a positive change within our everyday lives. Chapter 2, page 18. Carpenter and Kennedy basically just explain how conflict comes about and how basically conflict is just spiraling into different segments. And the reason they came up with this after reading managing public disputes, they started to talk about the reason for creating this diagram of the conflict spirals. They wanted to show that this is coming from a managerial perspective, especially because they're trying to help solve conflicts within a public and private establishment. So they're trying to show that there is a sequence of events, and in order to prevent the conflict from continuing or just realizing where the conflict started, that they had to have like this type of sequence of events. And the purpose of this was just to have a recognition, just to know when to stop the conflict, because managers are the ones who are supposed to be handling this type of situation, especially with employees just trying to figure out what's going on. So they needed to develop some type of diagram to explain all of this. Then in chapter 3 on page 48, we have Shapiro, Truxcan, and Shepard. We're just reviewing the 3 levels of trust. Within this, we have first, we have deterrence, knowledge, and identification. After reading the article, The Business on Handshake, I got to see that these 3 things are important, especially in a public or private administration, just because you want to have some type of trust with your employees, with your clients, or even just with your higher ups. You need to have at least these 3 different stages just to develop some type of relationship and just to continue building on within those relationships. The insight that I was able to see was just that this is very like great for business related, especially if you're trying to like have some type of negotiation. Like you can't develop solutions if you don't have that right trust within a person. You need to build that trust with on different levels, and in order for that to grow, you have to get to know that person. You have to be very comfortable. When you're at that identification level, then you're just like, okay, well, I don't have to monitor them. I don't have to feel some type of insecurity because I completely trust them. When you're at that knowledge level, it's just like, hey, well, I kind of have an idea of how they act, but I'm still kind of iffy about things. And then the turns is like, well, you basically just barely know them, so you have some type of trust, but you're not completely there. So this is very great for a business aspect and public administration aspect, just because you're going to be needing this in the workplace or in a business relation field. In chapter 3, page 49, we see how Janet is basically trying to make negotiation mutual for everyone. This is where we have to paraphrase to see what people want, clarify the ideas, and just summarize each party's wants. After just reading the article for the win-win negotiation, I was able to see that Janet's main concept was just to ensure that there is a win-win solution. Janet understood that when parties don't agree and there is a one winner, then that relationship soon dissolves. There won't be a winner and loser. That it's just going to be a lose-lose situation. So, in order to prevent that, there needs to have both parties to come up with ideas and agreements in order to create that win-win solution. So, Janet's main focus also was just not to have a conflict in such of a negative manner. Conflict is just understood that it's bound to happen, and you need to come up with ways to search for an agreement. Um, so, especially with conflict, it's something that we're just bound to happen. We have to figure out ways where we can't have this in a negative manner, that we need to develop stuff in a positive manner, and we need to be on the same level with everyone to be in an agreement to find a win-win solution. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening.